Here we go.
So we get to sit and look at ourselves.
We do it. Yeah. So
All
this
right.
one, yeah. So this is,
Okay.
you're like the
Great.
TV weather person. So welcome everyone to Merritt in the Morning number
Yes.
24.
Wow.
Wow.
Putting up with me.
Oh, Jim, you've been a pleasure. So he is 30-year state senator Jim Merritt. I am Brad Klopfenstein, president of the Greater Lawrence Chamber of Commerce. In the middle is our guest, Paula Moan. We will get to her momentarily. First, we want you to know what it is you're watching. So there's Merritt in the Morning.
We are.
You can see us over here in the Jim, I'm going to try to make us bigger. Think I can do this on the fly? Look at that.
Look at you.
Holy cow, it's like we're
Savvy.
semi-professionals here. So today we're coming to you. It's a one-off. We are live, if you're watching us on Facebook, at Indian Lake Country Club. It's a fantastic 96-year-old golf course, 9-hole golf course and country club with a pool, 71st and Sunnyside Road. They have allowed us to do the special afternoon version of Merritt in the Morning from their patio. So
And AJ's.
and AJ's on the green is now, so AJ's Barn Grill is now doing their food and beverage here. So come check them out. This is the first week for the full new menu.
It was good.
It was very good.
Delicious lunch.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Very good.
Also, want to thank Alpsbrau Beer. Remember, it's so very, very Bavarian. Jim, you could buy Alpsbrau Beer at some of your lesser known retailers.
Yeah. And that's where I go.
That's good. We're also brought to you today by Stockyards Bank and Trust, locations at 71st and Binford, Carmel, downtown Indianapolis, Plainfield, St. Francis Hospital on the south side. And we're going to let you in on a little secret. They're looking at a location down in Center Grove. Now, remember Stockyards Bank, because this is going to be very important for today's show.
Mm-hmm.
We also want to thank the Honey Baked Ham Company. Locations at 96 in Michigan and Greyhound Pass in front of Menards up there in Carmel, almost to Westfield. Through the end of this month, so you've only got 2 more days plus today, the rest of today. Get $2 off any lunch combo. That includes one of their handcrafted sandwiches, chips or deli side, and a drink. Ask for the lunch special. Tell them you heard about it on Merritt in the Morning. So, Jim, let me get rid of that.
We're back.
Paula Moan. So
Yes.
for those of you who are watching and you don't know Paula works with Stockyards Bank. She also worked with my wife at one point way
Sure
back
did.
when my wife was in banking. You stayed in banking. My wife drifted off into teaching and now blind kids.
Well, if I have it my way, she will connect again somehow.
Well, I think that someday she would like that. So that my understanding is she might be a bit expensive.
Yeah, well, aren't we
Yeah.
all?
Yes, we
Yeah.
are. So
Only the best.
So we're here today. We're going to talk about your business, and I also want to get into the broader banking industry
Sure.
a little bit.
You know,
Sure.
Brad, what's interested me, and we have this diagram today, but a lot of businesses that are over 100 years old are going away.
Yeah.
And for one reason or another, and banking has taken such a transformation, and a lot of banks, you know, you have to have, for instance, someone that is Spanish speaking or understanding. And I would imagine branch banking is quite a challenge today. And they started in
1904.
1904 in Louisville, Kentucky. And managing people, having a different way to bank in regards to being able to just get on your phone and be able to transfer monies. Banking is something different than our grandfathers.
100%. It's been interesting. It's seen an interesting evolution. As you say, there's so many banks that have been absorbed by other banks, and not everybody can, stay with it, and they sell, or it's a board decision, et cetera, et cetera. And as the technology has changed, we went through a period of time where the banks with the best technology were the ones buying smaller banks.
Mhm.
Smaller banks couldn't afford the technology to update and upgrade, so bigger banks were acquiring them. And what we're finding is, at Stockyards, we're just the right size bank where we do have the technology, we have all the things, but we have something that some of the larger banks haven't been able to figure out, and that is how to deliver that community banking service model. And it's hard. It's hard to do.
Mhm.
You know, I spent
A lot of community banks themselves are going by the wayside because of
Correct.
regulation.
Correct. It's
Yeah.
challenging. Yeah, it's definitely getting more challenging every day. But what our clients are telling us is they want that experience. They may not come into the branch, as you said, every day. They're not lined up on Fridays to cash their checks. I remember those days.
Oh, yeah.
Um, you did. You got your paycheck, right?
Sure.
You went to the bank and you knew all the tellers and you cashed your check, or
Mhm.
you'd put it in the account and put a little in your pocket so your husband or wife didn't find out.
Mm.
And that was the way it is. Well, now everything's direct deposit, and so they don't have that opportunity. So when people do come into the branch, we give them an experience where we always know who they are, we always know their names, and we have more feet on the street than a lot of banks are. A lot of banks our size, but even some of the larger banks in the market, we have more people that are out and about, what we call relationship managers, just going to their place to do banking.
Mhm.
And making it more convenient for them. And so,
So in this day and age, I mean, obviously you've been innovative at your cheat sheet. You guys had the first drive-up window in all of Louisville. And I remember hearing from somebody
yeah,
who was, I think, at Merchants Bank here in Indianapolis years ago. And they were the first ones to have an ATM.
Yeah.
And, most banks were like, why would you want an ATM? Who wants to bank at night?
right.
Turns out a lot of people do.
Right.
And so how do you maintain those relationships while also being innovative? Because yeah, the downside of technology is you're right. People can do all this on their phones now, but then you don't have that touch with them when they come
Right.
into a banking center. So how do you
They-
maintain that relationship?
They can do all those things, but they don't always want to.
Mhm.
And one of the things that especially our private bankers will tell you is that they are on their phone 24/7 every day of the week. And they take the phone calls. Our CEO of the bank will give everybody his cell phone number. And I do the same. Whoever wants to call me at any time can call me. I've had clients call me on Sunday mornings and we'll talk through something, and then they'll say, "Oh, shoot, I didn't realize it's Sunday morning." It's okay. It's all right. We're good. And so we answer the phone, we take the call, and a lot of other companies kind of put their phones away on the weekends, or they're not paying attention to it. And even though we can do all the technology, what we're finding out is not everybody wants to.
Right.
Sometimes people just want to talk things through, and they want to just call your cell phone because they don't want to have to leave you a voicemail or leave you an email and hope that you get back. And that's where we're different.
Well, there have been various Merit in the Morning shows that we're very concerned about the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't an industry, there isn't a company alive today that isn't concerned about training, about keeping and people employed with the company. Do you have ways of, well, first of all, many of your tellers probably have to know Spanish. And what are the challenges that you're encountering, and how are you able to keep your workforce?
Well, first of all, we really encourage bilingual hiring whenever we can. And when we do, everybody knows where they work. So first of all, the community always knows.
Sure.
They know where they can go and speak. I have a wonderful branch manager at our St. Francis South office, Leo, and he's bilingual and just a wonderful person. And people know that he's there, and so they kind of direct him that way. Or he'll pick up the phone,
Mhm.
and if you're across the desk and you need to speak another language, we have a system to let people
Translate,
know,
yeah.
and so that they can talk to a human being. We're not trying to Google, translate
Mhm.
to try to communicate that way. So that is really helpful to do. And then, keeping talent's all about just taking care of them and recognizing, and that's kind of my thing is leadership and building teams and having success that way. And if you give people a challenge and you recognize and reward them and compensate them fairly, make them want to come to work every day, that's sort of our secret sauce is, we're like a family. So much so that, sibling rivalry sometimes plays in a
Well,
fun way.
you'll have good retention with that type of
We
culture.
We really do. And like we were talking about at lunch, I was able to come over and sort of handpick my team.
Mhm.
And they have been just extraordinary, and they would do anything for each other. And when that happens, what happens is if you have a commercial lender, for example, that brings in a new business, they're going to call their private banker and say, hey, you need to meet the CEO of this company. I think you'd really like them. Now, next thing you know, that CEO has a personal banking relationship with us. And then, 10 years down the road, they decide to sell out or do an ESOP or do something else with that gives them a cash payout. We've got a wealth management group. Well, you need to meet our wealth management officer, Megan Ebersalt, one of the best in the business. Bring them, to Megan. And now we've got, generationally, we are banking these people. And that's just how we think. And we also think about not only, what that does for the bank, but we think about how we can help them grow their businesses. So we refer our clients to other clients all the time. And, just like you did at lunch, you said, who's doing your real estate? Well, I know somebody, and, that sort of thing. That's what we do. I have a client that does signs.
Yeah.
You should talk to my sign guy. And we try to interconnect our clients, and it's really played out well for us.
So every bank has a niche to some degree.
Mhm.
Are you guys more commercial banking, retail banking, consumer banking? I guess is how my wife will probably beat me when I get home because I'm not using the right nomenclature here. So, but do you guys have a focus, or you try to be a little bit of everything for everyone?
Well, I would say, first of all, we can do everything for everyone.
Mhm.
So we have that capability for certain. Being that we're newer in the Indianapolis market, we kind of came to the market more as a lending bank from commercial perspective and private banking. We probably one of the best dental products and dental lending experiences in the whole state. Our book is large. We also do a lot of real estate lending. We tend to be very different in the way we underwrite. And so a lot of commercial developers like to bank with us, and they refer us to their friends just because we were easy to work with. So we do a lot of commercial lending, and retail has just been the last to come on board. And we do a great job. We have 5 locations, soon to be 7. And we plan to open one every year until we have 15 or so
In Central Indiana?
in Central Indiana.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Klopp and I always try to ask about challenges
Mhm.
because we have some dynamic people on here. And we had Greg Doyle from the Indianapolis Star, and
Yeah.
and he has challenges. Just a wide variety of guests. In your mind, what do you see the next 10 years is kind of the challenges that you as a leader, as the president of marketing of Stock Yards Bank, what do you see in front of you?
Well, I think the challenge, to your point, you said marketing, the challenge for this market is just getting our secret out. It's tough when you go to a market the size of Indianapolis and you want to have a presence here. And, we don't have the marketing budget like, some of the larger national chains. And so we try to get our name out there through things like this, meeting with you guys, introducing ourselves, having mixers, doing things where we can get our name out there. And it has been, really.
So I'm going to interrupt you. A previous guest of ours is walking through right now.
Fantastic.
This the meeting of the minds?
It is
Yeah,
Kevin
absolutely.
Lamar.
Kevin Lamar.
I was about to reference you.
Good to see you guys.
President of Marketing Division of Stock Yards Bank.
The market president.
Market president.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we're talking about what we talked to you about, employee retention, and yes.
And
Yeah.
AJ's how good it was today for lunch.
Awesome.
The people at Cafe Audrey are going to be after us.
They are.
They're not
They
going to be
are.
happy.
I went there and had lunch yesterday, and
Oh,
I warned them and apologized in advance.
Good.
I almost went to Audrey's for lunch yesterday, and something happened the last minute and ended up eating at AJ's, but actually I wanted breakfast and I waited too long.
So,
See you guys.
Thank
good to
Kevin.
see you.
Take care, everybody.
See, that's why I like doing these live, and I like doing them
Just
on location
impromptu.
because
We're
you
pretty
get local
relaxed.
celebrities
Mm.
that come through. You don't, and I'd say about half
love
of our episodes, we don't know who it's going to be who walks through, but somebody will walk through the door and
Yeah.
we're like, come
I
on,
love it.
say hello.
No
I love
stuffed
it.
shirts here.
No,
We're very
love it.
relaxed.
So, all right, where were we?
So back to challenges.
Yeah.
The challenge is just getting our best kept secret out into the market and letting people know who we are and getting that word out into a population of, 1.5 million people with Indy and its contiguous counties. So that, and obviously the expansion and finding the right places to build and knowing where you want to go next.
What
and
kind of training program do you have?
So we have training for new people to the bank. We have local training. We have a trainer here that comes in and works with all of the folks in the retail branches, et cetera. And then we have some training that takes place down in Louisville as well. And on the commercial and private banking side, we tend to hire people that already have some time.
Hit the ground running.
They can hit the ground running, and they have an existing book. They have clients that like to follow them, and that's worked out really well for us. Yeah.
Well, I've always said that triangle with Indianapolis, Cincinnati,
Yeah.
and Louisville.
Yeah.
I mean, it's positioned very well as far as transportation, logistics, and those areas all kind of feed off each other. And I like the market strategy. I don't know if that's necessarily on purpose or if that's just how it's worked out.
Yeah.
But to kind of focus on those three areas, because people tend to move between those three cities a lot.
That's true.
And it's fairly easy to catch their business to where they don't even have to change if there's a move or they expand.
Yeah.
So.
And the whole theory there was, believe it or not, was because they, the executives in Louisville wanted to make sure that they were within a car ride to any clients.
Yeah.
If they wanted to, if a client needed them, they jump in the car, they'll be up here. I can call our CEO today and
Let's get them up right now.
Well, they're awfully gracious
But
to be
they-
sponsors.
They are.
they really really do enjoy being in that triangle, and that's what we call it as well. But now it's a little bit more of a trapezoid as we expanded into eastern Kentucky and Lexington area.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been wonderful. It's just been a really nice change for me coming from a large national institution to a community bank. It's been a lot of fun.
Let me reset here for those who are watching live on Facebook or recorded on YouTube. You are watching Merritt in the Morning with your host, Jim Merritt over there, Brad Klopfenstein here. Our guest today, Paula Moan from Stockyards Bank and Trust. I want to thank our sponsors, the Honey Baked Ham Company, locations at 96 and Michigan Road, Greyhound Pass in Carmel, in front of the Menards. Menards is getting a lot of free advertising from us, and we need to talk to them. Don't forget, Honey Baked Ham Company, through the end of this month, $2 off any lunch combo. Mention that you saw it on Merritt in the Morning, and they won't give you that deal. Also want to thank Stockyards Bank and Trust. They came on very early on in Merritt in the Morning history, and we're now on episode number 24. I think they've been here for a dozen episodes or so. Locations, 71st and Binford, Carmel, downtown Indianapolis, in the tower. Is that Capitol Center?
Capitol Center.
In
Very-
Capitol
very
Center.
good.
That's where Paula works out of that office there. Plainfield, St. Francis Hospital, and Center Grove. Get ready. Get all your money together in a peach basket and be ready to deposit it because there's a branch coming your way as well.
Now, tell us about St. Francis Hospital and having a branch bank inside a
Well,
hospital.
Interestingly, it's not in the hospital, and
I'm glad we clarified
why we call it St. Francis is beyond me. That happened before I started with the bank 8 years ago, but it's in a small strip center adjacent to, it is across the street from Stop 11. So it's
I'm really glad
near
we asked.
St.
I am
Francis.
too.
It's near St.
Hey,
Francis,
you
and
can-
actually, I can let you guys in on a secret that hasn't been publicized yet. We're actually relocating a mile down the road to Emerson and County Line.
I was hoping that I could get a physical and do my banking all at the same time.
Sorry to disappoint.
And that's at
Sorry to disappoint.
Emerson Point. Right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Jim,
Yes.
right
you're
there.
It is
good.
Emerson Plus giving you credit for that.
No need.
All right. Remember, after work today, when you're thirsty, go
Yes.
out and get yourself an Alpsbrau beer because it's so very, very Bavarian. We're coming to you from Indian Lake Country Club today. We will be back at Cafe Audrey's in 2 weeks or a week and a half, I guess
Well,
now.
regardless,
We'll be back.
we'll
We'll
be
be
back.
back. Cafe Audrey's, we're
not.
not gone forever. This is a one-off.
Yeah.
So it's just the way it worked out with our schedules.
Mhm.
So, Paula, back to
Yes,
banking. I want to
all right.
ask a broader question as
Okay.
far as the banking industry.
Okay,
Now, this goes back a year or two ago when Silicon Valley Bank had their issues and the government came out and said, we will guarantee those deposits to some banks, but our FDIC insurance. So basically, the deposit up to $250,000 is deposited by are insured by the FDIC at
Right.
any bank anywhere if they're an FDIC insured institution. Now, the Fed came out and said, well, if you're a bigger bank, we might probably insure you beyond that $250,000. What has that done to a mid-sized bank like Stockyards Bank? Did that make your customers nervous? What does that do to the
Your
industry?
executives.
What does that say to the industry?
Yeah.
It concerned me a little bit how that was handled.
yeah, I can't, I'm not gonna comment as to whether I was a fan of that or not. But I think at the time, the government felt that it was the right thing to do because of the panic created.
Mhm.
And, that was such an unusual situation because Silicon Valley was not a normal retail bank. They were a bank to all of these startups and they had a very, interesting deposit mix, which was all, brought in generally by one individual, one company. So, when that person got nervous about a long-term investment that they had made, they kind of picked up the phone and said, you need to pull your money. And that, as you guys know, can cause a run on the bank. And, people that invested in that bank, they knew that it was a kind of a startup bank. And as far as the government, bailing out some of those deposits, I mean, glad I'm not the government
Yeah.
because that's a tough decision to make.
It is.
You can't, if you're gonna take hundreds of millions of dollars from somebody or somebody's company, how many jobs does that impact? How many
Mhm.
people's pockets does that impact? And, I think it did make some people nervous, but, I think it's important for people to know who they bank with and then know what their liquidity position looks like and can they handle tough times economically. And that's the one thing I do like about Stockyards. We're ranked financially in the top 95% of banks, regardless of size. We're in the top 5%
That's pretty impressive.
in the
That's
country
impressive.
Yeah.
for financial performance. So it's something that we're proud of, and we tell our clients. And we had our share of nervous clients and some people that moved money around, but since most of it's come back in.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's what I figured.
yeah.
I feel like every financial institution ought to have that scene from It's a Wonderful Life where there's the run on the bank where Jimmy Stewart's like, you don't understand, your money's not
Yeah.
here, it's in Paul's house and Jim's house and his money's in your house.
One of my favorite movies, by the way.
Yeah.
It's such a good movie.
It's-
So,
It
but yeah,
confuses people.
it-
I mean,
It
that's
does.
banking 101 right
It is
there in
banking
a
101.
60-second scene.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But we were fortunate. We didn't suffer any large runoff. In fact, we grew a lot
Yeah.
during that time. So it was just an unfortunate situation. And luckily, we're a pretty conservative bank. We're managed conservatively, and we've done very well.
Well, we really appreciate you being our guest today. One of the principles that Klopp and I came up with when we were talking about this is that we wanted these videos. We wanted these videos to go on websites because they're proud of it and gives
Yeah.
them ability, it gives that individual, that company, the ability to talk about themselves because, we may have 500 viewers here, but they'll talk to 5 people. And so
Absolutely.
we're just really appreciative of all the support you've given us and I've learned a lot today. No question about it.
And I appreciate you guys. And like you said, 500 people, if those 500 people say something to 1 or 2 people, that's fantastic
Yeah.
for me. And that's how we have grown in this market. That's how we have come in here and figured out how to grow. It's
Yeah.
just by, hey, mention my name. Do you have any friends? And it's just amazing how that network really works.
And having that smile when someone comes into bank is so very important.
Yeah.
And we talk about honey baked ham. When you walk in there and somebody's smiling at you,
Yes.
it's just so invaluable.
I know
Yes.
just from a consumer standpoint, I mean, I know banks strive to get that relationship with their customers. I think customers could probably do a better job of having that relationship with their bank, because at some point, any customer is going to need a loan or any other financial services.
Hold your
It's
hand.
very true.
Right, and if you
That's
are a
very true.
stranger to the people who work at that bank, it's possible that you've had your account for 15 years, but if they don't know you, they don't know your business, they don't really know anything about you off the top of their head, I think it makes it that much more difficult to accomplish whatever your goal is, because you don't have that relationship built up to begin with.
I agree 100%, you know, especially, I mean, let's face it, we're in economic and political times that are uncertain.
Yes.
And now's the time that you need to know people. You need to have a connection. And, you know, I had lunch with a client last week who said if it wasn't for us during the economic crisis of 2008, he'd be out of business.
I think a lot of people.
And
would
he's
say
so
that.
loyal. And you know, meanwhile, I'm thanking him for staying with us, you know, and we
Yeah.
kind of, you know, you hold hands and walk through it together. And, you know, during that time, 2008, when, you know, the company I worked for failed, and it was hard, and it was really,
You might-
it was really
That was not
emotional.
Stockyards Bank.
No,
correct?
no, at the time,
Okay,
at the time.
at the
She's
time.
been with
Stockyards
the-
Bank.
Yes.
8 years now,
Great.
since
8 years.
2016.
So, but my point is, during that time, we didn't take TARP money. We didn't take anything from the government. And not only did we get through it, but we actually grew. We grew our loan and deposit portfolio that year when other banks were, you know, selecting accounts to get rid of. You know, you're
And
gonna
you
have to find
attribute that
another
to
bank.
just relationships
Absolutely.
and a track history
Absolutely.
of friendliness.
Absolutely. And knowing who people are. You know, it's interesting. I sit on our corporate loan committee, and we still have an old fashioned loan committee.
I was just
Wait,
gonna say that.
I know,
That is
right?
such a throwback.
It's not just, you know, what's the credit score, what's the
Yeah.
debt to income. It's the first thing we talk about in loan committee. You come in, you gotta sit in front of all the executives, and we're on video in Indianapolis. They talk about the person. They talk about, well, you know, this is Jim. Jim grew up in Indianapolis and started this company. He's third generation of this company. And that's how we start the conversation. So now everybody knows who this person is, what they're about, what their family started as a company. Then we dig into the financials quickly. And it's such a different concept that a lot of banks forget.
Yeah.
They forget that this isn't just a scorecard. This is a human being. This is a family, a company,
Or cow.
or cow.
At Stockyards Bank, everybody has to know the origin of that name.
Absolutely. So Stockyards Bank started in 1904 as a transaction location for the farmers that would bring their livestock to the stockyards. And so they needed a place to transact, and that's how the bank was formed. And, you know, from there, we grew into a commercial bank, but we were one bank, one building with commercial lenders
That's a wonderful story.
until 1989. And then we quickly, when, you know, we saw this bank consolidation, we had opportunities to buy branches. They were going, you know, empty on every corner. So we just started building branches, and we built out that retail network, and it's just been incredible.
Now, I gotta ask, were you working with Sheila, my wife? She likes to tell the story when she was a regional manager.
Yeah, we were regionals together.
Yeah, so she would tell, like, if there was a branch that needed to generate some more loan money or whatever, she would say, I'm gonna be there next Wednesday. I want you to get every single customer you can who needs money in here. And Sheila was putting together loans, going to the loan committee saying, well, we're getting the tractor and 8 head of cattle and the back 40 and cobble together these funky loans that nobody else would make. And they're like, okay, 4 points above prime, let's do it.
Now, I'm not old enough to have been doing livestock loans, Brad.
Okay, well,
But that's what they did back in the day.
yeah. So that's funny. So let me ask, so you brought up 2008 a little bit ago.
Yeah.
Has the banking industry learned? I mean, I'll pick on one that's out of business now, Urban Union Bank, that was in Columbus, Indiana. I mean, they ended up getting upside down because for whatever reason, they were doing a bunch of mortgages in Phoenix in particular, in Arizona, and the housing market burst, and they were left holding all these bad notes, and they got way upside down, and they ended up getting dissolved and becoming something else. Has the industry learned, or there are things in place now to kind of
Yeah, certainly
Guardrails?
Yeah.
the industry's learned and the government has built the guardrails.
Mhm.
So it's really difficult to get yourself into too much trouble and truly there's, it's the best thing for your customers not to loan them more money than their house is worth. And, that was a time where, the Irwin Union stuff was subprime lending out of Phoenix. And, I was with Nat City at the time and they had subprime lending and that was, part of the issue as well. You know, the markets got greedy. The market loved all that mortgage, those mortgage-backed securities and all the mortgage business and people were doing, 110, 150% loan to value because surely the values are going to go up. And you
Oh,
made
yeah.
that assumption that all these values are going to go up. And what's really sad is that they, really hurt consumers.
Yeah.
It really, really hurt them because as much as they wanted that house and couldn't afford it, they did the loan anyway. And a lot of people lost their homes for that bad business. And I think the banks have learned, that's not a very profitable model to go by, but B, who wants to be known as that bank that, forced all these people out of their homes
Yeah.
because they couldn't afford to make the payments. And, you're in an interest rate environment. They did all these adjustable rate mortgages and said, well, you can go interest only. And, it's only going to go up a certain percentage a year. And by year 5, they're like, we can't make these payments. They're at a normal rate. And it's just really a shame,
It is.
really a shame.
Actually, Jim, you had a neighborhood in your district at the time over by my old house, right there at 21st and Arlington, where and it was 200 homes and like all but 4 of them somehow got tied up with one financial institution that went belly up.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
And and the
Wow.
whole neighborhood became empty.
Yeah,
Wow.
when I,
That's
when
bad.
I entered the Senate in 1991, we had that problem 92, 93 with,
Yeah.
with the home savings and loans and whatnot. And then 2008, 9, you kind of wonder if things happen ever, regulation loosens up and you got Dodd-Frank and everything
Yeah.
else. It just, you never know what's going to happen. And we're just really glad that Stockyards is a solid institution, follows the rules and regulations. And then if you do that, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Paula, last question. What is next for Stockyards Bank? What is next innovative wise and expansion wise?
Gosh.
Where are you guys going to be 10 years from now?
Okay, well, 10 years, we would hope to have Cincinnati and Indianapolis filled out.
Mhm.
We're looking at 13 to 15 offices per market. We're always looking for banks that want to be acquired, and that's hard to do. It's obviously a lot less expensive to acquire someone than to build branches at, $3.5 million a piece. And so we're always looking for acquisitions that make sense in our geography. We won't ever do something that would jeopardize our community banking model. So, we're looking to continually grow. We're always looking at technology. We're always trying to beat the fraudsters and make sure that we have protections in place so that people feel safe.
Oh, you gotta
banking
go
with
deep
us.
with that.
It is deep right now. It is really deep. There's a lot of fraud. There's a lot of email fraud. There's a lot of wire fraud. And don't respond to a text. Please don't respond to a text and say that, that we're not going to text you and ask you for your banking information ever. So, that we're investing in that technology. We're investing in the compliance areas of the bank to make sure we're doing things the way we should as we grow. And, for us, it's just growing while keeping that community model because that is our secret sauce and we will never give that up. If that was ever in jeopardy, we'd probably just stay put.
Yeah, she's an outstanding, they are an outstanding sponsor of ours because it's part of our spirit. Work hard and be kind.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's pretty simple.
Mhm.
it's
The golden rule.
it is, but it's funny
Yeah.
how few people follow it. Paula Moan has been our guest today. Thank you very much, Paula,
You're
for
very welcome.
coming. She also brought us gift bags. So thank you for the gift bag. You have been watching Merritt in the Morning, number 24 with Jim Merritt and Brad Klopfenstein. We've been coming to you today from Indian Lake Country Club, located at 71st and Sunnyside. If you want a fun little 9-hole golf course with a swimming pool, this is your place. Thank you to Alpsbrow Beer for sponsoring the official beer of the Merritt in the Morning show. We need to bring more props.
Yeah.
You need to bring a beer.
We do need to,
It would be
occasionally
terrific.
we,
Like right
have a
now.
sticker, yeah.
yeah, we have a sticker. Cafe Audrey's actually sells out, brother. Indian Lake has in the past. They just don't have it right now because it's
Okay.
kind of their, it's not golf season other than today. Thank you to Stockyards Bank and Trust since 1904. And they let Paula come on today and be our guest. Locations at 71st and Binford, Carmel, downtown Indianapolis, Plainfield, not in St. Francis Hospital, but around St. Francis Hospital, and coming soon to Center Grove and maybe Zionsville. Honey Baked Ham Company.
Delicious.
Oh, it is
It is.
delicious.
That's why everyone's smiling when they come in there. They're just mirroring.
They-
Yeah,
Jim loves their mustard.
I love
Oh,
that mustard.
Yes.
One of these days, Jim's gonna get a shipment of like a whole case of mustard, show
We
up
ought
at
to
his
have,
front
we ought
door.
to have, no offense, Cafe Audrey, we ought to have something there with
We could do that.
Mrs. Cal.
My
Ms. Cal.
understanding is that if you're there on the right day, you might run into Peyton Manning.
Okay. He loves it.
He does. They got a location 96 in Michigan and Greyhound Pass in Carmel near the very large retail hardware store. There we go. Menards, you got to pay for that mention. So thank you all for watching. We will be back in about 9 days. I don't think we know who our guest is, but
No,
they're always fun. They're
it's
always
gonna be
entertaining.
interesting.
Yes. So thank you for watching. Tell your friends to watch. Feel free to share our links. The more the merrier. So everybody have a great week.